Tony had asked early on about church fathers. And so I was running into some of things when I was doing my research. The New Testament that you'll be purchasing has a section that lists all of the available early church fathers, their materials. And so they get the Greek parchments get a tag if it's like Ephesians or Philippians or whatever. But if there's an early church father that is quoting Ephesians, it gets its own tag number. So, yeah. So,
what New Testament is this?
This is the Greek New Testament that you'll be getting. It won't contain their writings, but it will make references and says this came from this person who was quoting this passage.
Is there a link to it on Amazon or something? Or is this an online thing, or what is it?
Oh, no. This is in the Bible, in the New Testament itself. It's part of what they call the critical apparatus. And it's the all the footnotes. And so it'll say this came from this codex or from this papyrus or this fragment. Or they'll say, oh, it came from a lectionary or it came from a church father.
You'll have to get it from Amazon, probably, Tony.
Okay.
I don't know what to call it.
Yeah, I'll be sending that stuff at the end of the class. I'll give an entire. I sent some to Patricia already. It's about, you're talking about what was it? $50? Was it, Pat?
The New Testament was $50.
Okay.
And the dictionary was, I can't remember, 20 something.
26 to 30, somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Money well spent.
Yes, very.
Oh, yeah, you'll love it.
Yeah.
Once you learn, you get comfortable with it, you'll be consulting it every single week of your life.
Right. And the part that I wanted to mention, to affirm to Tony, is that means you should be able to buy the early church fathers documents as well. They'll be not as popularly available, but you can get copies of what is available, and you'll be able to read it because it's still Koine Greek.
Okay. Well, I look forward to the link then, or whatever you're going to send.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't want to get you guys wrapped into it too quickly. That's going to be next week when we actually will go to the Greek letters. So tonight, we're going to look at badness, bad words about badness. We are talking, this is lesson 11. We're going to try to also cover lesson 12. Each is only a page each. And these are lists of words that you should use, as in all the other vocabulary lists, is to be able to, fold them over in half and to see if you can say what the English is just from the Greek phonetic. All right, so here we go. Alselgia, or alselgia, means exceedingly bad behavior. Alselgia. There's no tricky hints to help you remember. This is just a brute force memory word. Hamartia means to miss the mark or fall short. It's different than the word that I had given before about I didn't leap far enough, leap-ho. This is a synonym, which means I've missed the mark, I sin, I fall short of my intended target. We have seen hypocrites. Here's hypocrisis, or hypocrisis. Hypocrisis is so an actor is hypocrite, T-E-E-T-E-S. But if you have a crisis, you are acting. So this came directly into English as hypocrisy, but you get the idea of criticism or being under judgment. So when you get to either hypocrite or hypokrisis, and you say acting or actor, the context of the sentence will tell you whether you're talking about a person or the activity. This doesn't.
Hupo is below?
Hupo is below, yes. Or under.
Okay, under. Okay.
So I'm under criticism. You know, a krisis is a judgment. In fact, here it is. I'll just go right down to it. Krisis, which became our word crisis. You know, I'm in a crisis. Well, if you're being judged, you are in a crisis. Crisis means in the midst of judgment, and hypokrisis is you're under judgment. So it's like you're standing in front of in the courtroom in front of the judge, and all eyes are on you. Hupopaidzo means to strike under. Here's the etymology for it. Paidzo means I sport or a jest or dance or play around. So, you know, I'm pretending to, you know, throw punches. And if I get one right under your eyeball, you know, I strike under, you know, so I like blacken an eye. It gets translated in two different places. And I gave the locations here, 1 Corinthians and in Luke 18, 1 Corinthians 9. The English word that's used is buffet, you know. I buffet the body, you know. Luke 18 uses the word wearing out. If I had run this course as just a brute force memory class, you would memorize it as buffet or wearing out, and you wouldn't get the gist of the words. But by doing it the way we have the last 10 weeks or so, we can say, can I break the word apart? Oh, hupa, something under. Paidzo, I have to go look in the dictionary for that one. Oh, it means I sport, jest, dance, play. And so you can create the meaning of the word rather than just brute memory. You're using different parts of your brain to assemble these words. Kakos, we've seen before, like kaka or kaka. It means bad, evil. Oh, bless you.
Sorry.
So, orge, or orge, depending on how you pronounce your eta or your eta, orge means just full out wrath. It's not smoldering. It's not thumia. It's orge. It's like the explosion has already occurred if you get to orge. I have here note it's a long simmering grudge, but it's like the explosion that comes after that long simmering grudge. You know, it's the anger is already there. You know, wrath is probably the best way to translate that word. But you'll see it in your Bible as bitterness or anger. But since we have other words for patience and smoldering, orge carries it with it a much stronger impact. And so I'd highly recommend you use the word wrath when you translate this word. Pathos, from which we get the word pathos. Pathos means passionate. It's not necessarily a bad emotion, but sometimes we let our passions carry us away, so we're not thinking straight. And so we're not using our intellect, but we're acting on our emotions. And so that's why I put it in this list. And sometimes we talk about God with anthropopathic terminology. You know, he was sad. He he felt sorry that he created mankind. You know, it's like that's putting human emotions onto God, and that's called anthropopathos. You won't see this in your Greek New Testament, but you see these Greek words: anthropos, meaning human,
Human.
and pathos, meaning passion. Okay, this one I have an English hint. Phagomai, omai means either something's happening to me, or I'm doing something, or something's being done to me. And this is eat. I eat, I consume, I devour, and it made it into English as esophagus, the pipe that you swallow your food. Or a phagocyte is a something in your blood system that eats things. So devour. This shows up later in another word, sarcophagus, which sarx means flesh, phagos is eat. So a sarcophagus is a flesh eater. It's a bone box. So it just came right out of the Greek. Planao means I wander, and can be translated as I deceive, but more like wandering. And a noun that came close to it, these are similar. This plano is a verb. The equivalent noun would be planetus, which means a wandering star, which is a planet. Which is, I feel like the guy in the movie My Big Fat Greek Wedding. It's like, see, it's there. It's in the Greek. But planao, wander. Thumia is smoldering anger. It's the anger before the explosion. Orge is after the explosion. Let's see. The word blood isn't necessarily bad, but the way it's often shows up in the Bible, it's not. You don't want to come across someone who's bleeding. So, hema means blood, and it came into these English words: hematology, hemophiliac, and hemorrhage. Cathartic means
getting something out.
Okay, or clean. And acathartic is dirty.
Not clean.
So you put this S-I-N, acatharsia means you're contagious. So not only you're not clean, but you're contagious. You pass the germs around. So it takes the root or the stem for clean, sticks an a in front of which negates it, and sia, S-I-A, says it's happening right now. So I'm dirtying up something as we speak, would be akatharsia. I'm contagious.
I wonder whether that's also in, I guess, Hebrew, where the lepers had to say unclean, unclean, and they actually meant I'm contagious.
Yes. Well, they were, in the Old Testament, it was, I am unclean. I'm ritually unclean, so I can't come into the temple area. But definitely by the time you get to the Greek with this word, it's like, yeah, I'm contagious. I have to be isolated. Don't touch me or you might get the same thing. Yep. I have trouble with this even in English. I think in English it's antithesis, but it's antithesis. But in English it's antithesis. Anti means against. The is from theos, which means God. And I don't know what cis, no hint there. So the question was often asked, theos, what's its root meaning? We apply the word God, and that's how the ancient Greeks understood it. But even Socrates guessed at the original meaning of it. No one really knows what the root for the the in theos, as in thesis, theory, or theos. No one knows what that stem means. We'll learn more and more about Greek as we go along. Long after this class, you'll be finding Greek words and you'll go, I'm going to go back to my Greek dictionary and see if I can find out what that stem means. Brosis. Notice a lot of SISs on the ends of these things. Brosis is a thing that consumes, like cystic fibrosis. That's the only word I knew that uses it. But it can be translated as rust, moth, mice, blight, where don't put your treasures in things where rust or moth can eat holes in your treasure bags. That's brosis. Something that consumes or rots. Ektino, ek means out, and this is a verb, so I am stretching out. I'm overextended, or I'm stretched really thin.
Like tension?
Or I tense. It's more of I'm overextended is probably the better way of looking at this word, as opposed to a stable tension. It's I've gone beyond my breaking point. Yes, next.
So the O would be a I stretch out?
It should be I stretch out, yes.
Yeah, I stretch out, okay.
Because it is a verb. I look at these PowerPoint slides and I stare at them and I look at them and stare at them some more and I go, okay, I think they're ready. And as soon as I give the class, I find errors. So 1 error, 2 errors. It's like, So I do correct them when I, on the video, I'll put in green ink over the top of these to show what it ought to be.
So we're the beta testers.
Yes, you are. Yes. Koine, or koine, which is our kind of Greek that we're learning, is common. So koinos, this is a noun. Koinos means common. It can also carry the sense of unclean. So maybe these lepers were saying, koinos, koinos, unclean, unclean. Or they could have been saying, katharsia, katharsia, which means I'm contagious. These two are somewhat synonyms. But koinos, if you just think of it as the lowest rung on the bar, the lowest man on the totem pole, common. So koine is the common Greek, the lowest common vocabulary, lowest common denominator of the vocabulary. And koinonia turned it into a positive word because we looked at sharing things in common was a good thing. If you were in the Greek days, that was only what the slaves did, because if you were a high muckinimuk, you ate by yourself and you had the servants serve you. But koinonia carries the sense that we are part of a larger fellowship and we eat together, common sharing.
Harry?
Yes, sir.
Could I bring in something on that this might be a little interesting?
Okay.
It said to enable trade. Some people wonder why the Galileans, like Jesus and the apostles, except for Judas, spoke Greek, because they had to. If
Yes.
they're going to deal with the commerce that was flowing through that part of Galilee,
Yeah,
they
Upper
had to know
Galilee.
Greek. And it is the principal reason why the New Testament is written in Greek.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you just spoke Aramaic, you're limited. But because of the Greek, which was the common commerce language, you had to have it. You weren't going to get any place, and that's why our wonderful New Testament is in Greek, Koine Greek.
Right.
Okay.
Good. Yeah.
That's why
And-
they translated into Latin too, because that was the most common language that anybody had.
And
Hence
that was
the
just
word.
coming on the scene.
Yeah. Hence the word vulgar or vulgate is common. It was the language of the common people, lowest common denominator, so that everybody can understand the scripture. Kophos is a deaf or mute. It's an adjective, so you don't know what's deaf or what is mute, so you have to put in parentheses one, a deaf or mute one, kophos. Cranion is a body part, which means skull, and it's where we get the word cranium, which is Latin. I stole this from Wikipedia, these next 3 lines, that Golgotha is a Greek transcription of an Aramaic term, and it was translated into Greek as the place of the skull. Topos means place, and kranau, of skull. So skull of skull place is how you would see that in the Bible. And then it made it into Latin as Calvaria locus, and that's where we get the English Calvary. But you'll hear Golgotha and you'll hear Calvary, and they're talking. It's just 2 different languages for the very same place. Okay, a crima, from which we get the word crime. A crima is the verdict of a judgment. So I am in a, where to go? I am in a crisis. So I'm in the midst of judgment. And then the verdict comes down and I am accused of a crime. Crima, the actual verdict of that judgment. Mammonos, from which we made it into English as we cannot serve God and mammon. Mammon is a Hebrew word, and it was also an ancient god of wealth. I don't know how that worked out, how that was possible, but it comes across as material things. So we cannot serve material things and God at the same time. Mammonos. Nekros, which means?
Dead.
And what is a necropolis?
City of the dead.
Very good, you got it. Phagos. So earlier we had, let me go back to it. We had phagomai, which means I'm consuming or I'm devouring. Here is a phagos is the same stem, but now it's a noun. Previously was a verb, and here's the very same stem as a noun, and it means a glutton or someone who devours a lot, a devouring one. You could translate it as glutton, but if you know that it's an eater, phagomai, I eat, I consume, a consuming, sarcophagus, a consuming of flesh, then you'll have the sense of what, it's not just sitting down for a meal, it's got the sense of devouring, just shoveling it in. Phagos. Another English word, pharmacy, pharmaceutical pharmacy, comes from pharmakios. And this is a noun, and it means it's a drug user, but a drug user that's mind altering. So it's a hallucinogenic drug user, and sometimes gets translated as a sorcerer, probably because of how they behaved after ingesting some hallucinogens. But that's where we get, that's the root for our modern day of pharmacy. Now I'm going to show a next set of words. Take this stem, pharma, and if they start putting endings of E-I-A, ia, it carries the sense that I'm currently doing whatever is the stem. So pharmakia means I'm doing sorcery that's using mind-altering drugs right now. Porneia, from which we get the word pornography, is sexual relations outside of marriage, or sexual immorality right now. I'm doing it right now would be the EIA, porneia. Patokia is poverty or impoverished. It means I'm impoverished at this very moment. It's kind of hard to think of poverty being a verb, but that's the kind of feeling for it. All these EIA endings carries that sense of currency. Sarx, all by itself, S-A-R-K, means flesh, but so does sarkonos, which is a noun, also means flesh. So wherever you see S-A-R-K in any of its forms, you're talking about something about flesh. And so here's the word I mentioned before, sarcophagus, sarx, flesh, phagos, eater, flesh eater, or flesh devourer. And you can translate it as coffin. This is different than the bone boxes that you see in Israel in the archaeological digs. That's after all the bones are dried up, and there's nothing left on them. You scoop them all together and put the remaining bones into a special box. This would be the early centuries around Jesus's day. And then that leaves the area where the body previously had been open for the next family member. And so you would go to a family tomb and they'd have these bone boxes of people who had died in the past. And sometimes they would put multiple family members in the same box, but it's the idea that that box is not a sarcophagus. That's an ossuary. And an ossuary is where you put dry bones. So a little bit of archaeology there for you. Sarkonos, flesh, sarx, flesh, two synonyms for the same word. Thanatos means death. I didn't come up with this word. I had a student in a previous class who came up with this, and I'm going, you have a very wide vocabulary or a very weird vocabulary. Thananopsis. Opsis, it means seeing, and so it's an essay about death. It's like, okay, it's not in my vocabulary, but I said, I got to grab it because I couldn't think of any English word that uses it, and there you go. Thanatopsis. I can't even pronounce it. Thanatopsis.
Thanatopsis.
Thank you. After this hour, try to get me to say linoleum. You know, it's like that. Okay, thalipsis. Now the TH, it doesn't have a vowel under it. This is a single letter. This is a theta or theta, and so it's and then just no vowel, and then lipsis, thalipsis. There's that SIS again that we saw in many of the other words. And it has the sense of being distressing or oppression or something that is pressed up against. I would have thought it would have had ante or kata or something like that. So this is probably not the right one to use. I think I would use distress or oppress as the right English word for thalipsis. So the moment the judge puts the gavel down, what's the Greek word? He makes a verdict.
has to do with crisis.
The crema?
Yeah, crisis is before he passed the gavel.
Prima.
Crema, yeah.
Prima.
So when he gets that gavel out, it's like, oh, I've got a crisis. I might be going to jail. Here's a really angry person.
Orgy?
Orgy or orge? Yep, orgy. Is this one in the same?
Could be Cretus.
Yeah, this one was probably, some of these, when I pull them together, I had thoughts, he hasn't put the gavel down yet, so it's crisis, and this is, the gavel's come down, that's crema, but either way, it's just the idea that if you've got a judge, then you'll have to remember of crisis and crisis and crema and hypocrisis. The tombstone.
Thanatos?
Necros.
Necros, and to fall short or miss the mark. That's the first word for tonight.
Martia.
And this person is wearing a Groucho Marx glasses, a disguise. So what would be the word that she's doing?
Acting.
Hypocrisis.
Hypocrisis, yes. All right. And that was just to put some visuals to these words. So this is the last set of slides that are going to use the Latin alphabet. From here on out, we'll be using the Greek alphabet. It's kind of a hodgepodge of words that are common that you'll find in the New Testament. If I just have apostoli without the N, what does that word mean?
Apostle.
Apostle. But if I put an N in there, it gives the sense of kind of like a role, apostleship. Hagios, I-O-S is a noun. What did that mean? Hagios.
Saint.
A saint or holy one.
Holy one.
Hagios spelled this way just means holy. It could be an adverb or an adjective. Here's hagio again, holy. Sunis, sun is with, so with holy, and we get the word holiness. These hyphens, by the way, are just to help us find where the syllable breaks are. Apo means what in our prepositions?
Away.
Away from.
Away
right.
from.
Poimamen is a shepherd, and just simply poimen is a shepherd. It's almost as if they took the MAI and dropped it to shrink it down. But both of these words both mean shepherd, like shepherd of a sheep. Prophetess is made right into English as prophet. And I don't know if the word athlete did the same thing, but prophetess means prophet. Alethis is truly. Alethos, is true. Alethos is truly. What if I said alethos, a little o, an omicron? What would that be? If this means true and this means truly, if I use the little o, it would mean
Truly one.
True one.
True one.
True one.
Just a true one. Yep. Aphorismenos is just a memory word. Means a separated one. Os, of course, is a noun. And it just means separated. Ekenosin This is a past tense verb, ek meaning out. I probably should say I empty myself out might be another way of saying this. This might be an I word here. I'll have to go look that up. But to empty oneself out is ekenosen. Enkratia, here's an EIA again, says I'm currently doing this, is restraint. I'm in restraint. I'm in bonds right at this moment. Haplus is to be clear-headed, raw brute force memory. Polituomai, I hope that's how you pronounce it. This is a verb, oh my. I'm doing something or something's being done to me. Poly means what?
Many?
Many, or
Many.
palu mean many, yeah. So this is where we get political. And so I live a lifestyle of a good citizen. How do you get that out of that word? You know, maybe I politic real good. I don't know, you know, but it's just the, when you see that word, you go, many what? What am I doing here? And this is a sense of citizenship. I live the lifestyle of a good citizen. Soon is a preposition meaning
Together?
With.
Oh,
with, yes, very good. And there's that SIS ending again. Means understanding with an application. So there's the with part. So you might just say with understanding, or you could translate it as just with application. But that's a sense, Sunesis says, this is an application of something. Anothen could have two different meanings, and I don't know how to separate one from the other. This is one of those dictionary words. Anothen means either again or it means from above.
Oh, that's why there's some people say unless you are born again, and other people say unless you are born from above.
Ooh, thank you. So different English translations had different. That's an excellent verse to pull out. Yes. Unless you are born again, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. Unless you are born from above, you cannot enter the kingdom of God. Super. I believe that's where that came from. This one made it in English. Astir made it into asterisk. And there's a pagan goddess called Astarte. And you'll see this down here. Astarte is the Greek for Astarte, and was known by these other names: Venus, the planet, Ishtar or Astaroth. All about this pagan goddess. A synonym for star is astron, from which we get the word astronomy. And nomos means what?
Law.
Law. So laws about stars, or how stars operate. This is a word that if you are just used to saying EU means good and theos means God, you might be tempted to translate it as good God. But that is not what it is. It's youth, eos, which means immediately. When you run into this, I bet some of you will be tempted to say good God. But eutheos means immediately.
That's Mark's favorite word.
Helikia is stature, more in the sense of like I carry weight in the community because of my age. It's kind of a synonym to an elder. I've got stature in the community. helikia. Hikanos, a noun, just means sufficient. So this would be a sufficient one perhaps, until you get into the actual sentence. It'd probably be like a sufficient message or a sufficient grace. Hikanos, sufficient. Here is angel again. Angelos means what?
Message.
Okay.
Sure.
Messenger or message bearing one. Yes, angelos. So kata means preposition, kata. That's ana. Ana means up.
Down from.
Kata, down from. And notice that if you get two A's in a row, one of the A's gets dropped. So it's kat ankaletai. Kata, angelos. And you can't have two vowels slammed together there, and they'll drop one of the vowels out. So a down from message is the wooden form of it. So in English you would say, and this was spoken about, or this was gossiped around. It's like, I'm getting this second or third hand, and it was spoken about Jesus about this or that. That's the meaning. That's kind of the bearing of what kind of message. I'm not giving you the message right now. It came from, some third party. Meno means I remain. You'll find meno, M-E-N, omega there. You'll find that as the ending of many other words. So if you just think of meno as I remain as a verb, meno, the omega signaling it's a verb, then all you have to do is figure out what's the stem that's sitting in front of it. And so you might get a half a word, even if you don't know the rest of the word when you find meno. Hadas, that's a rough breath mark. Hadas turned into Exodus, and it means way. So it was the way through the desert. It was the way out of Egypt. It was the way towards Canaan land. Exodus, from which is the word that was applied to that book of the Bible. Hadas, way. You'll find the word name a lot in the New Testament. So this is the Greek. Onoma, onomatos, the named one. Onoma, more likely you'll see it in this form. Pan, P-A-N, means what?
All.
All, right. If someone said bread, I'd go, no, that's Spanish. Yeah, all. So pasin is among, so it's a sense that you're kind of dropped in the middle of a group of whatever, a group of people or a group of cities or a group of soldiers. Among, pasin. I'm in the all. It might be a tricky way of remembering that one. Para, as preposition means?
Alongside.
Right, and so patamata, parapatamata is to fall beside something. I don't have a verse I could pull right away, but this is a showing you the use of a preposition and then the stem, and this is the word for falling. It has lots of different. That's a pipto, is a lot of different irregular endings for the word fall.
I see that Matthew 6:14 has parapatomatos.
Can you read the verse?
No, because I'm in my analytical.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering what verse uses that word.
6, what did I say? 6:15 or 6:14, For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. So it's a transgression, a trespass, a fault.
Oh, fault.
Maybe
Okay.
it's like missing and falling short.
It sounds like a synonym of
Mhm,
yes,
yeah.
It's like I fell off the wagon, or I slipped off the path and
Yeah,
I went down the hillside.
it says like a stumbling aside, a false step.
So is that Luke? Was that Luke or?
No, that was Matthew 6:14. Cheat.
The cheat. What's the title of the cheat?
The analytical lexicon.
Okay. Scopus, we're back to English again. Telescope, microscope, periscope. Scopus is a viewing one, or a viewer, a person who is viewing. So if I said episkopos, epi means
Over?
on or upon, yeah. So on viewer, upon viewer, someone who's kind of up a little bit, looking down and observing. Episkopos.
So a bishop is an overseer?
Yes. Philos means what?
Of
And logos?
Words?
It's
word.
kind of cheating. It's right here on the PowerPoint slide, right? Okay.
I call it the cheat.
The cheat. Okay. That's all of the English vocabulary list. Will you remember every one of these for the past 12 lessons? No, but you'll remember enough of the roots that there'll be some stickiness to it. You'll be able to remember it. And then as we go into the next set of actual verses in the Bible, those words that are most common will start getting really, you will own them, as opposed to, I need to go to the dictionary for every single one. You'll be able to own some of these words. I want to show, as a closing for tonight, an ancient inscription. This is the Gorton Law Code. And I was just thrilled when I found it in a print. It was in a tourist guide of all things. And so you can see here, as the ox turns, it goes around this way and then this way and then this way. And so let's go in the left to right. So that's ton, which means it's an object, T-O-N. It's the word the, ton. And the S's are going the right way, the K's are going the proper way. And then you come over here and you go the other direction. So you kind of turn the corner and keep going. There's the S backwards,
Oh, I saw kata, K-A-T-A.
Yes. And then, I told you some of these things are just going to start popping at you. And then here's a row, the P going backward, the N is backwards, a couple more S's, there's a K that's backwards. Then you come around the corner and you keep going. Here is an E, A. Now this C,
this thing goes like this.
yeah. So the C is the sigma, and when the sigma got put into Russian, they kept the letter C. So the Socialist Soviet Republic was CCCP, and it's sigma, 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 rho.
Oh.
And so it's not a P, it's a rho. It's a Greek letter R, republics. So this is an old way of doing a sigma. Is that letter C. So you can just kind of see it flips around, flips around, flips around. And every line, it oscillates. And so I just thought, oh, I can actually show it off and have a real live example of it rather than just talking about it in theory.